Alright kids, we are right now leaving State College, and as promised, we're here in our brand new set.
Yep.
Light it up.
Light her up.
Here it is. One of the brand new sets for Random Night Road Trips, also known as Kyle's new car.
Yep. It was willed to me by my grandmother last year when she passed away last June. And this car is in memory of her.
That's right.
I love you, Grandma. I love you, Grandpa. Both of you rest in peace. And enjoy yourselves for all eternity. Because you're both together again.
That's right.
I miss you both. And I love you both.
You can dim the lights now.
Yeah, we got the effect there. So yeah, here we are.
In my brand new brand new to me, but used 2000 Dodge Intrepid with 99,000 miles on it.
Yeah, right there is all the more miles this thing has on it for as old as it is, and that's not bad at all.
My grandmother only put 20,000 miles on it when she had it. It was given to her by her youngest son, my Uncle Stacy. And this car was bought in Connecticut.
Yeah. It's got a sticker on the back that says the dealer it was at in Connecticut. But yeah, this is it. This is how you really do this shit.
That's right.
And if you saw the last video, which I really hope you did, because it was sure a good one, trust me.
Yes, it was.
I haven't posted it yet as of making this one, but believe me, I know that might be our best episode yet. And we didn't even go anywhere.
No. All we did was get stuck in the goddamn woods because a fucking tree fell down on the fucking road 20 minutes during 20 minutes of what we were doing to my old car.
Yeah. And mind you, as of we're recording right now, that happened to us just last night.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm still tired as hell. My back is killing me. My right knee, I pulled something in my right knee. It's fucking killing me. And my head is thumping thanks to Nathan because he
yeah, I kind of bumped him in the head falling off of that log while we were trying to saw it up, which...
He lost his footing, and, you know, I didn't even feel it at that time until we got in the car to leave.
Yeah, and
It's the adrenaline.
Yeah, and I know I bopped him pretty hard.
I had a goose egg when I got up, or rolled over on that side whenever I went to bed. I could feel a fucking goose egg. I was like, oh shit, it's gonna leave Mark in the morning.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we got moonroof and every shit.
Fuck yeah, I'll crack that motherfucker open.
Yeah. Yeah, so now I can do something unbelievably stupid with my expensive camera. And I'm sure you heard nothing but a bunch of wind noise there, but I can do that now. So yeah. Yeah, we are now in the middle of State College on Whitehall Road, heading towards Pine Grove Mills. And speaking of Pine Grove Mills, since we're in the area, I've talked about some of our past rides before, but just a little refresher course. This immediate area is where my first ride came from. My uncle had this old GMC cargo van, and he had it originally for doing his work with the Boy Scouts, because my uncle and my aunt are both involved in the Boy Scouts. My uncle's actually an Eagle Scout, and to this day they still help out some.
If I'm going to go to 45, I'm going to want to go straight.
Yeah, you can go straight through. You can go either way, but straight through works.
I don't want to go back up Pine Grove Mountain. No,
Well,
I'm bad gas.
Well, anyway. And he bought this van at an auction here at Penn State. I think he paid like $500 for it. Something like that. And he used it for that for a while, but this was right around the time when I was a senior in high school. I had just turned 18, and he decided that for my 18th birthday, he would give this thing to me.
Yeah.
And you know, for as old as it was and as beat up as it was, it actually ran pretty damn good.
Mm-hmm.
mean,
Once I got my grubby mitts on, it ran a hell of a lot better.
yeah, and you know, we beat the absolute fuck out of that thing.
Yeah.
I mean, that thing had a 4.3 liter V6 in it, and that little son of a bitch would scoot. I mean, this thing was a GMC, you know. We are proud supporters of GM-made equipment, even though we're in a Dodge right now, but that's beside the point.
Yep. I have nothing against GM or Dodge. It's Ford I hate.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I used to drive a Dodge. I had an old Dakota, which is what I'm about to talk about next, but getting ahead of myself. I drove this thing everywhere. I mean, I drove it to school, I'd drive it every fucking where.
Yep.
You know, we'd take that shit up in the mountains and fucking beat the hell out of it. In the wintertime, we'd take this thing out. And it was only a two-wheel drive, mind you, so it did not do that well in the snow, but we made it work. And one of the things I can remember is we took it, a friend of mine, his grandmother had a big cornfield up behind her house. And she didn't care what we did up there, as long as we didn't, you know, murder ourselves. So we took and went up in there in the van, and we just fucking tore that field up. I mean, we probably dug ruts about deep enough to bury that thing. And yeah, and there's a road we've been on before, but there's a hill that there's a really quick dip right there.
Yeah.
And I probably talked about this before, but we ramped off of that sumbitch in my van, slammed on the ground at the bottom, and slid about halfway up somebody's fucking driveway.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, and I ran that thing for a while, and then one morning on the way to school, it blew a head gasket. So I parked it out behind the school by the football field and left it set there all day, and then managed to drive it home. And I tried to get it fixed, but by that point it was a lost cause. So I junked it. Well, it would just so happen that my uncle bought another one after he gave me the first one, and he decided to give it to me as well. So it was like a year older. Like the first one was an 88, the other one was an 87. So I had the second one. And it was basically the same damn thing, except this one didn't have a little, like a vent on the top. The other one had a vent that stuck up like enough to fucking trip over.
Yeah.
And the second one didn't.
The first one, that's what prevented me from pulling it entirely into my garage.
Yeah. And the other thing that the second one had that the first one did, it actually had a sound system in it.
Yeah.
So we could actually, you know, listen to shit. But yeah. And then I was helping somebody move one time, and then that one blew a head gasket. Mm-hmm. So, you know, they were fun while they lasted. And shortly after that is when I got the truck. And I didn't really look too many places, because there's really only one place where either of us really look for cars when we're looking for anything, and that's Bruce's Lakeside Motors just outside of Huntington.
And he's the one that did the title work for this.
Yeah.
Thank you muchly, Bruce.
And he usually has some pretty good stuff. Every now and then he gets a couple of shaky looking things, but he mostly gets good stuff. So if you're in this general area and you're looking for a good used car, that's the place we would recommend it. But anyway,
this is Lakeside Motors along Route 22, just outside of Huntington. It's in Ardheim.
Yeah, it's near Houston Ford.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I was saying,
and I work on almost all his vehicles, so.
Right. So, kind of a personal connection for us there. But anywho, like I was saying, I had looked there. He had like the truck that eventually became my truck, that ugly green piece of shit Dodge Dakota I had.
Piece of shit, come on.
Well, it was when I was done with it, trust me.
When we were done with it.
But anyway, then he had like another, like a Dodge Ram that I looked at, and I wasn't too hot on it. Well, then there was another place down the road, which I don't even think it's open anymore.
Where's that?
Cars Unlimited.
No.
Yeah. The guy had like a GMC Sonoma, which wasn't in bad shape and would have been okay, but had a big ass dent in the bed. and it didn't have a full back seat, like a full bench seat, like my Dodge did. But anyway, so I settled on the Dakota, and I ran that thing for a few years, and you know, it was a lot of fun too. You know, 4-wheel drive.
Well, that truck, we had a lot of fun with that truck.
Hell yeah! I mean, again, it was only a V6, but it would scoot. You know, you get it on a flat surface, it would move. Didn't like mountains too good, but you know,
we made it work.
We made it work. And that's the one that I told the story before, how we got it stuck back in the hills. We started to slide off the road in the ice and had to get someone to come pull us out.
Yeah.
So and that's also the same one that I used to pull him out the time we got his truck stuck down in the ditch.
Yes.
And
but the ironic thing about that night is Nate was pushing off the bank, and he had his back up against the truck, up against the bumper of the truck, and he's pushing off the bank with his feet. We almost had it out that way.
Yeah, but mind you, this was late at night, and by that point I was fucking tired. If I'd have had a little more energy, we might have got it.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That's a thing. So, anyway. And of course, there's the car I have now, which is just a Pontiac Sunfire, a little newer than the one that we just got done
destroying.
Semi-destroying.
We didn't destroy it. The only thing that I smoked the fuck out of the clutch. Surprisingly, we did not bend anything on the suspension with all the shit that we did to it last night.
Yeah.
Because I could still hold, I could let go of the steering wheel and it was still going a fucking perfect straight line.
Yeah. And I mean, we were hitting everything from rocks, the logs, plowing it through the mud.
Got $227.48 out of that car.
Yeah, so we got more than our asking price.
Yep.
So yeah, that's not bad.
That paid for the title transfer on this.
Yeah, so that car came through in the end.
Granted, I'm going to miss it. I'm going to miss the fuel mileage, but
you know,
YOLO.
Right. So yeah. And since I, you know, told them about all of my various forms of transportation over the years, you've had probably more than anybody I know, so I think it's your turn.
Well, I was just getting ready to turn 17, just got my driver's license, and I was driving at the time my dad's 93 Dakota whenever I first got my driver's license, but that, you know, it was just driving around, you know, to go here, to go there. But my first vehicle, which also came from Connecticut, well, no, I'm sorry, it was bought in Vermont, but it resided in Connecticut for its first few years of its life, first 100 and some thousand years of its life. And
100-some thousand miles, not 100,000 years.
Yeah.
That would be one hell of an old car.
Fuck yeah. But, my Uncle Stacy, again, bought that car brand new right off the showroom floor. That car was one of the cars that was in the showroom. It only had like 5 or 6 miles on it from them pulling it in and out of the showroom. Because that car back then, that was Chevy's top-notch 4-door sedan, besides the Impala. Mid-size car.
Yeah.
Aluminum is a mid-size car.
Yeah, what was that, a 91?
It was a 91 Chevy Aluminum with a 3.1.
Yeah.
And my God, would that son of a bitch fly.
And I'll vouch for that because I got to drive that car once. And that was a nice ride.
Yep. But my Uncle Stacy gave it to my grandmother. Then my grandmother gave it to my mom. And then my mom and dad gave it to me for my first vehicle. Then whenever we put it on the road for me, it had 230 232,000 miles on it. Now, mind you, it was bought brand new with only 6 or 7 miles on it. My Uncle Stacy put about 190,000 on it. And 80,000, whenever it reached almost 90,000, the transmission went out. So it had a new transmission in it. The engine was not touched at all. The engine had no work done to it other than scheduled maintenance, spark plugs, wires, and oil change, and coolant flushes. That was it. That's all that car ever had done to the engine until I put it on the road. From it sitting for 3 years, it needed valve cover gaskets. No big deal. Took me an hour to do. Drove that car for about maybe 2 years, wouldn't you say?
Something like that, yeah.
And
well, maybe more like a year, because when you got the next one, it was your graduation present.
oh yeah, true. Well, it was about a year that I had that car. Well, one afternoon heading to work, I worked part-time at my current job now, whenever I was a senior in high school. And one afternoon I'm heading to work, and the temperature light comes on. It didn't have a temperature gauge, it had a light. But also, the car had a low coolant light. But the low coolant light, the sensor for the low coolant light is located in the radiator. Well, that sensor was bad. So I had no idea the antifreeze was low. Until the temperature light came on. It's flashing at me as I'm going 60 mile an hour down the highway. I just get to the passing zone right before where I work at, and I just fucking nail it. Go out around about 5 fucking cars in a tractor trailer, pull in the fucking into the parking lot, whip it in fucking neutral, shut the car off, coast into my parking spot. My dad comes out and looks at me and goes, or he sniffs the air and goes, "You fried it. It's cooked. It's done. I can smell it. Got it hot." Blew a bypass hose from the intake to the throttle body. It's a bypass hose that warmed the throttle body up whenever the engine was cold. It blew, and after that, from me just putting antifreeze in it and not bleeding the cooling system and thinking it was full, I warped the heads and it blew up.
Yeah.
So it lasted 258,000
Sounds about right.
before it blew up. Lasted for 2 generations, or 4 generations in my family.
Yeah.
Well, consider that 3. My mom and dad would be 1 generation, or my grandmother would be 1 generation, my uncle would be another, and my mom and dad would be 3. Well, whatever.
Right.
So, for my graduation present, graduate, Dad says, "Hey, there's a 98 Chevy Tracker sitting down at Bruce's. I know how much you want 4-wheel drive, but you want fuel mileage." Okay. Bruce wants $2,000 for it. Let's go take a look at it. Decide when we get there. Alright, whatever. We go and look at this thing. I started up, I listened to it run. Alright, yeah. I think about it overnight. Bruce said, "Sure." So, next day, I tell Dad, "Yes, I want it." So, that weekend, we go pick it up. one day after school, we go pick it up. Got it right before I graduated. It had 199,000 miles on it. But it ran like a top.
Yes, it did.
I took that son of a bitch everywhere. Now, granted, I only put 12,000 miles on that car. I took that fucking thing rock crawling, anything you could think of, I did it.
Oh, I know we had it up in the woods a couple of times.
Yeah.
It would really go places where you wouldn't think it would go.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, for as small as it was, it set pretty high off the ground.
Yeah.
Plus,
But-
it was a really short wheelbase, so it didn't get high-centered on stuff.
Yeah. But, needless to say, I was in a car accident. Just a few months after I graduated. Bought the thing in March or April or May, and in September 27th, as a matter of fact, is whenever I had my car accident. Guy pulled out in front of me and put me in the right front. Luckily, I wasn't injured. I mean, I had some glass in my arms and shit like that, but the asshole was drunk.
Yeah, it was some guy in a big-ass Lincoln.
Hit me with the Lincoln Continental.
Yeah. And I want to say, I saw what this car looked like after the fact. Because I want to make it clear, he was on his way to my place.
Yeah.
And, you know, without going into too much detail of the story, all I'm going to say is I know there was a lot of shit that had to line up there for this to happen the way that it did.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, about the only part of that car that wasn't completely mangled up and twisted was the driver's seat.
Yeah.
Because I remember sitting there thinking, where the fuck is he at? Because we were getting ready to do something,
Yeah.
and I'm sitting there waiting and waiting and waiting, and the next thing you know is when I get a phone call.
Hmm.
And, you know, in the back of my mind, you know, I was like, I knew it. But yeah, I think that's really pretty much all that needs to be said about
In
that.
that juncture.
Because then there was the problem child that came next.
Yes. After I had that, the insurance company gave us $2,700 for the tractor. The problem child that came after that.
And this is one we've talked about before in some detail.
Bruce had a 96 Chevy K1500 four-wheel drive with 233,000 miles on it. For all you Chevy fans, I'm one. I think we all are in this car.
Yeah.
Do not, I repeat, do not buy a 96 truck.
Yeah, especially the
96?
1500s.
No, anything 96. A Chevy Blazer or a Chevy truck or a Chevy S10.
Yeah.
They all have the same fucking transmission, and that is the only goddamn year that fucking transmission will work in.
Yeah.
So, Bruce wanted $4,000 for it. My dad said, well, the insurance company gave us $2,700 for the tracker. Here's the check for that, and here's the difference. Done. Took it home. Thought, all right, I got me a fucking truck.
And it was a nice looking truck. You know?
Sure, the body was a little rusted out on the fender or on the rocker panels, but that could have been fixed.
Yeah,
And I was planning on it.
And it ran fine.
Up until I did the intake manifold gasket myself. The intake manifold gasket was leaking. Antifreeze, not into the engine, but outside of the engine. So thus, I had to change the gasket. So, as any logical mechanic would do, you think you would change the oil before starting it? No, I changed the oil after starting it. Left, because when you pull an intake manifold off, there's going to be residual antifreeze left in the engine once you even drain the cooling system. Doesn't matter whether you drain it, you know, doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter how good you think you got it out, you didn't get it all out.
There's still residual antifreeze inside that engine.
Because it's going to hide somewhere.
And it mainly hides in the intake.
Uh-huh.
So when you pull the intake manifold off, the antifreeze that's left inside goes down into the engine. Rule number 1, always change the oil after you remove a valve cover, an oil pan, or an intake manifold gasket, or an intake manifold.
Because if you don't, this happens.
I call Nate up, hey, got the truck done? Just getting ready to fire it up. Okay, I'll be up. All I gotta do is put the oil and antifreeze in it. Okay, consider me on my way. He comes up, I fired it up, shut it back off, change the oil. We're going to pick up a lawnmower that day.
Yeah.
We witnessed something pretty cool, but in another sense it wasn't cool because the guy was killed or a guy was dead.
Yeah, at the local Walmart, this guy drove through the fence, down over a hill, into the pond, and then he hit a tree.
No, he got stuck in the pond. He was driving from fucking North Carolina to Pennsylvania, and he did not realize the passenger was dead. His passenger was dead for fucking 12 goddamn hours.
That's some fucked up shit. I mean, I remember that happening, but I forgot about that part.
12 goddamn hours. He was dead before they left North Carolina. How could you be? He was so fucked up and drunk. He did not know his passenger was dead. He thought he was talking to him, back and forth to him. No, he was talking to himself.
Yeah. But anyway,
we witnessed a Pennsylvania State Police helicopter landing in Walmart's parking lot and then down in the field where that truck or Jeep or whatever the fuck it was.
Whatever it is he was driving. I think it was like a Nissan truck or something like that.
But anyway, this was after we picked up that lawnmower.
Which, mind you, was basically at the top of a mountain.
Yeah.
Back in the hills at this guy's place where we went. Then we came back and stopped at Walmart.
It was running fucking beautiful. And I worked at a Monroe Muffler and Brake. And the guy that we picked up the mower from was the assistant manager and also a technician.
Yeah.
He even told me, he said, damn, he said, that thing sounds better.
Yeah. I remember that.
He said, whatever you did, he said, you did something right. He said, because something, he said, it sounds a hell of a lot better. He said, it's got a deeper tone to it.
Yeah, because we were sitting there bullshitting with this guy for like an hour before we left his place.
And it was sitting there running for about 15, 20 minutes before I decided, all right, I'm wasting gas. I'm shutting this fucker off.
Yeah, because we were getting ready to leave and then we got to bullshitting.
And then he started showing us some of his projects that he's doing and all this other shit.
Yeah, everything he's got sitting around his place.
And then we head home. Head back up to my place. Go down 22, I pass the vehicle. Runs great.
I mean, we probably topped out, what, about 100 when we passed that thing?
And that truck shut down at 100.
We had another camera bork, but yeah, like I said before it cut out, I mean, that truck, we probably had it going all but 100. We might have been going like 99.9. But anyway, like we were saying, we were getting ready to head up the mountain to his place.
Yeah.
And right there, it's on Route 829, which is right by the diner right there. In fact, we're going to pass it here eventually. But anyway, you pick up with the story from here.
All right, we're starting up the mountain, and on 829 mountain, there is an S-turn. This is you start going up the mountain, and it's a big ass fucking turn, and it's 45 mile an hour turn. Okay, and I kick it down because I'm going about 50, 55, and this dickhead that I passed is following us. Well, I had enough of this dickhead, so I kick it down. I punch it, and it starts climbing up to about 60, and then it just starts bogging down and down and down and down. So I drop it down in the third gear. Down and down. I'm down to 40 mile an hour, so I kick my flashers on. Drop it down in the second gear. And I'm watching the gauges. Nothing's happening. Everything's working great. Start going around that turn. He goes on by me. I just wave him on by because at that fucking time I'm doing 30 mile an hour.
And the whole time I'm wondering what the fuck's going on.
Yeah.
Because mind you, up to that point, we were scooting. We were doing great.
Yeah. So, I'm looking over at Nate like, what the fuck is going on here?
And of course, I don't fucking know because I'm not a car expert.
I said, man, I'm losing power. Either a converter's fucking clogged up or a vacuum line popped off or something. I don't fucking know. And it start getting up the mountain, and it starts speeding up again, speeding up and speeding up. Then I start hearing something. I turn the music off, and I start hearing a noise. I said, Nate, you hear that? Yeah. It sounds like knocking. Get to the very top of the fucking mountain. I put it in I had to crest the top of the mountain first fucking gear, and it was an automatic.
Yeah.
At like 10 goddamn mile an hour. Pull off to the top of the mountain, put it in park. The fucking check gauge's light comes on, and I just watch the oil pressure gauge just go from 40 down to 0. Nothing. And it's hammering like a son of a bitch, squealing. I'm like, oh great, it's fucking blown up. So, open up the fucking hood. I pulled the dipstick out to see what's on the fucking oil dipstick, and the oil is just so fucking hot that it's running right off the dipstick. I smell the oil. It's burnt. It's fucking cooked. And steam is just coming out of the fucking dipstick hole. So I crack the fucking top, or the oil fill cap, take the oil fill cap off, and steam is just blowing out of there. I call my dad. Dad, the truck just blew up. It's hammering like crazy. Where the hell are you at? I'm at the top of the mountain. What mountain? 829. Be there in a bit. He just got back from fishing. So he's all pissed off and bent out of shape. He comes. I can hear him coming through the fucking valley. And his old truck, it had a Flowmaster exhaust on it. It was a 93 Dodge Dakota. You can hear that son of a bitch coming for a mile or 2 miles away if you're running it wide open. He comes barrel-assing up the fucking mountain. I can hear him coming up the mountain. And I hear it kick into overdrive. I'm like, well, he's not going to see us. He's probably doing about $1.15, $1.20. So just as he crests the top of the mountain and we're both waving him down, like, hey, 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 he fucking locks his brakes up, blows the truck back around, comes back. What's going on? Someone fucking fill me in here. So he starts it up. You drive my truck down, I'll drive this as far as this will go. Let's go. Let's get the hell out of here. Got about 2 miles from the house and it just locked up. So we blew that engine up. And mind you, before the engine blew up, I believe didn't the transmission go out of it? Or was that after?
That came after.
That came after. Okay, well, blew that engine up, found another engine for $700. 96, 350, $700. It had, the guy claimed it had under 90 or under 100,000 miles. Well, I call bullshit on that.
And here's why.